how important is it to surround yourself with a powerful circle of people that not only believe in you, but help you build your own self-belief?
It's everything. Like for me, there's nothing that I accomplish by myself. Like I lean on so many people. I mean, track is seen as like this individual sport, but like we absolutely have a team. Everything from your training partners, your coach, your management, like everyone is working for this common goal. And so, yeah, I go out there by myself, but I've been prepared. Like everyone has poured into me. And so it's critical. And I didn't always have the right team. Like I had to make, especially after 2008, that's when I kind of reevaluated everything. I was like, what changes can I make? Like I've been doing this now, and if I keep doing the same thing, I don't think I'm gonna have the result. So I looked at everything. I started working with my brother. He became my manager, and then we just started putting the pieces together. And for me, that was like a huge turning point. Yeah.
When was the time that you doubted yourself the most?
I think I've had to fight doubt throughout my career.
Really?
For sure. I'm trying to think. I would say probably like the last Olympics is when I had the most doubt, for sure.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being you've got 100% confidence in yourself, you're, zero doubt. 1 being you're doubting yourself all day long. Where were you on that scale?
I was probably like a 4, I think.
Really? Going into your last Olympics?
Yeah. I think, and even before, like trying to get...
You just won a world championship, didn't you, like a couple years prior?
But I had become a new mom. Like I had all of the whole ordeal with Nike. Like I had what I felt like the whole world saying like, you can't do this. Yeah. And so I felt like it was only like my circle where I felt that like support and like belief. And other than that, I felt myself listening sometimes to the voices of like, you're too old. You're on to another chapter. You're a mom now. Like you need to focus on that. And that trying to combat that with like, fact of like training and result, like that's a hard thing to navigate. So I definitely felt the pressure of that.
So you felt like you were at a 4 in terms of self-confidence and belief leading up to the last Olympics. Were you a 4 at the Olympics, or did it start to shift and go a little stronger?
Yeah. Once I made it to the Olympics, sounds cliche, but like that was the victory. Like that was
just
the
qualifying.
Yeah. Because nobody thought I could do that. Like at this point I'm 35, like I have this new baby. Like there's all these things.
How many events did you qualify for?
I qualified in the 400, and then I was
individual
on the relay.
400 and the relay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was just like such a relief even to be there. And then it really shifted for me. I think that was the first Olympics I ever wasn't solely focused on like the time or the medal. Like that was the first one where it was like, wow, like I'm representing women, like I'm representing mothers, and like anybody who has been told they couldn't do something, like I am showing them that that's possible. And that just gave me a different outlook and a different purpose than ever before. Because always when I came before, it's like I'm hyper focused on like the only thing that matters is a gold medal.
Right.
Anything else than that is like failure. So this gave me a shift in that.
Interesting. And also right before then, I don't know the full story, but essentially Nike wasn't in support in some ways because you become a new mom, or they weren't.
Yeah.
What was the whole situation that happened there that led you to saying, I need to do something for women with my own vision of this brand that you have now?
Yeah. So in track and field, for as long as I can remember, there has been this like culture of silence around pregnancy and starting families. It's been really difficult. And
track and field?
In track and field specifically.
In America or over the world?
I think all over, in the sport for sure in America. That's who I was in contact with. So basically I was seeing my friends struggle through motherhood. I saw them either hide pregnancies if they needed new contracts. I saw their contracts get paused. There wasn't like this shining example of like a mother who's like dominating and like killing like doing all the things. It was more so like the struggle, and not because they weren't capable, but because the support wasn't there. It wasn't in place. And so for me, when I felt like I wanted to start a family, I was really scared because I was like, I think that this could happen to me too.
Even as one of the top stars.
I was scared, yeah. But I did feel like I had waited, I had already gone to 4 Olympics. I felt like I had accomplished enough where I'm like, okay, maybe I'm safe.
Right,
That was
maybe I've
like
done
my
enough.
mindset. And so I'm like, I'm going to go forward with this. But my negotiations with Nike, who at that time I had been with almost a decade, even before I said that I was pregnant, the negotiations already were 70% less than what I had been making previously.
Interesting. So it wasn't a good deal already.
Already, whether it was
Gotcha.
I was too old or whatever the thing was, we were already at that place.
Okay. So they were kind of like, hey, we'll keep you around essentially with this.
On to the next.
But we're investing in
Yeah.
a generation that's coming up now,
Yeah.
essentially.
So that just amplified my fear. I'm like, I've already seen what happens. And so I made the decision to do what a lot of women in my sport had done before. I hid my pregnancy.
Wow, really?
Yeah, and it was crazy.
For how long? And now how old are you at this time?
So I'm 33 and I am still competing. Like at the beginning, I still try. I'm like, we're coming up the hills of like Serena and I'm like, I can do this. Like,
wow.
So I'm still, racing a bit. I'm training. Eventually I get to the point where I can't continue to do that. And I train in the dark because at this point I don't have an offer on paper. So I have a verbal 70% less, but there's nothing on paper. And so my fear is that they find out that I'm pregnant and then that just disappears. Yeah.
So you're what? You're like 2 months pregnant, 3 months pregnant?
I stopped competing about 2 months and then I'm still training and, this is ongoing. So this is going over a long period of time. So I'm 4 months, I'm 5 months, I'm still in the dark. I'm rarely leaving my house. I'm wearing baggy clothes, like all of this. For someone who's always wanted to be a mother, it was so hard because all these moments I had dreamed of, it's like I'm not experiencing any of that. The baby showers, like any of that. So
you're almost living in shame.
Yeah.
To have
I'm hiding
the thing that you're most excited about, which
Absolutely.
is starting a family. You're living in shame. You're hiding it. You're going out. You're sneaking around in the night.
Yeah.
It's like you're like
crazy.
you're like a kid trying to like break the rules from your parents, almost
Yeah.
like sneaking around
because I'm growing a life inside of me.
Wow. How did that make you feel hiding it?
It felt horrible. It felt like it should have been this moment that was celebrated. And I felt like so much was taken from me, so many, you never get to have your first child again. So it was really challenging. And in that time, I decided to really shift my ask away from the financial aspect of it. And what I asked for was maternal protections. And basically what that means in track and field is our contracts are performance-based. And so the Olympics, the World Championships, you go, you medal, it's a bonus. But you don't, it's a reduction. Now, if you have a baby during that time, or if you just had a baby, there's nothing in place to protect you. So essentially what was happening in the sport is that women were just, their salary was being cut, and they were pushed out of the sport. And so I asked for time to be able to recover.
You asked Nike or you asked USA Track and Field?
I asked Nike because the sponsor is that's your main income.
Revenue,
we don't get paid, from our federation. So
you asked them in the contract, there wasn't a new contract yet. So you're still finishing
Yeah,
the term.
I'm asking for terms in that contract.
Interesting.
That it be laid out maternal protections.
Even the 70% less, you were like, give me
the money was,
protection.
it's like, I could take the disrespect of that, but like, I felt like this is something that could change things. This could change the culture.
Right.
So I focused on that. I asked for that and they told me yes. Like, I'm like, this is great. This is what I'm asking for. Cool.
That's nice.
But when the contract came back, there was no legal terms that tied the time that they were willing to give me for other female athletes. They weren't ready to set that precedent.
So they're willing to do it for you, but not for all female athletes.
They said they wanted to take it on a case-by-case basis.
Interesting. Okay.
For me, that just, I couldn't accept that. Like, I felt like, we need to change this for all women, for all female athletes. And I think also, because this went over such a long period of time, I ended up having my daughter, and I had a very traumatic birth experience. I gave birth to her 2 months early, and I think all of that, just like having a daughter and thinking about like her life and what she's gonna go through, and that just made me feel like I can't like accept this. And so I made the decision to write a New York Times op-ed and to speak out about what was happening for me, and also other teammates of mine had done the same. And we pushed for change. And after that op-ed came out, it was about a little over 2 weeks later that they ended up changing their policy. So
Nike did,
yeah. So I had parted ways.
So you had already parted ways.
For me, it was, but for the women that, were there and came after, it's amazing. And today they offer 18 months of protection. So yeah, it was great.
So they were trying to, it sounds like they were trying to do it for you, but they weren't ready to do it for everyone yet.
Yeah.
Until you kind of pushed through in this message and the platform and speaking out, and then more women started to get on board with that as well, which is amazing.
Yeah. So it was terrifying. And
congratulations, though.
It was scary.
I can imagine. Because it's your livelihood. It's your
and
income.
It's Nike. Like, this
you don't want to upset
massive,
them.
Yeah. And so for me, I didn't know what was on the other side of that. Like I was terrified. I knew I still wanted to compete. I wasn't sure what was next. So it was a really difficult time. I was, obviously grateful. I wish it wasn't such a fight to get to that point, but grateful for that outcome. But that's what happened before my final Olympics.
Wow. And so how were you able to bring in an income after that?
Yeah.
If they weren't sponsoring you anymore, what did you do?
So after that, I had this meeting with Athleta. They're owned by Gap. And I kind of didn't think anything of it. I was like, at this point, I'm just, I believe in what I'm doing, but I'm not sure if I'm going to have another sponsor. And so our missions just really aligned. They're a female company, female-led. And I was like, oh, it's feeling really great. And so we partnered together, and they're my apparel sponsor. And that was amazing. It felt really empowering because I saw just a different way to do business. But I didn't have a footwear sponsor. So at this point, I'm training for the Olympics, and I don't have shoes to wear in the Olympics. And for me, I think I was just upset and just tired. I'm having this conversation with my brother, who's my manager, but I'm speaking to him as just like my big brother.
Sure.
And I'm like, I am so just tired of begging companies to see my worth and value. Like, I can't believe I'm at this place in my career, and I don't feel like I'm seen. Like, I don't feel like anybody believes in me in that aspect. And so he was like, I think that we should just do this ourselves. And I'm like do what? Like, like create shoes? Like, how does that work? Like, and the more that I sat with what he was saying, I'm like, no, you're right. Like, we could do this ourselves. Like, here is our opportunity. Instead of begging somebody else to create the change, like, we could be the ones to create it.
Wow.
And so that's what we did.
What year was this?
So at this point, this is 2020, when we're having like these
right
ideas.
Before a year before the Olympics.
Yeah, we're right
in the middle of the pandemic too.
Exactly. Which is crazy to think of forming a company, a shoe company, during a pandemic with, the supply chain issues and all of the things. But I think the thing about it was that, shoes, but also purpose. Like, this is about women deserving better. And if we have to be the ones to go there, then we have to do that. And what we thought we were doing was just making shoes that I could wear in the Olympics. Like, that's what our understanding of it was. And maybe other women would want to wear those shoes too. But what we learned as we went down this research and, this new industry is that shoes haven't been made for women, tennis shoes. So a tennis shoe is made off of a last, which is just a mold of a foot. And it's been the mold of a man's foot to make women's sneakers. And when I learned that, I was like, no, we cannot be an afterthought. And I think it took me time to even really understand that concept, because, you go into a shoe store and, we've all been in a Foot Locker, and you see there's like a wall, right? There's like men's and women's, or we've been to the women's department. Like, we've seen shoes for women, right? And it took breaking down, understanding that that's just marketing. Like, it's the exact same shoe. Like, they might throw some pink on it.
Right,
but
it's just smaller.
Yeah, it's not even proportionally small. And there are differences, significant differences between a man's and a woman's foot. And so just understanding that and, being able to run with that, it was like, okay, we're doing this.
So you built the shoe for the Olympics was kind of like the first stage, right? It's like, how do I build it so I can have my own shoe and be able to tell this story? But then launching a company and building something beyond that, that's a lot of work though.
It's a lot of work.
How have you navigated this?
Yeah.
And how can people get involved?
Yeah. I think the first thing is not, we didn't know how much work it was going to be. And I think there's a beauty to that. Had we known, who knows?
No, just launch a shoe company.
Yeah.
Nike did it. Let's just
we can do this. But it's been challenging, for sure. But I think knowing why we're doing it, that we see women and we want to be different. Like we have a maternity returns policy, which when a woman becomes pregnant, her shoe size often changes. And that change in size oftentimes is permanent. And so in our company, if you have that happen to you, we'll give you a new pair of our shoes in your size. And so just saying, like, we want to push the industry. We want to do things differently. Obviously, we're making shoes specifically for women to fit the form of a female foot. But our purpose, we believe, is much deeper than that. It's to say that we see women and that we want to do more. We're all about community. It's just as important as the shoes that we create, bringing women together and learning for them. And so I think the way that people can get involved is to support, buy our shoes. To me, it's a signifier that like I stand with women and I'm a change maker and I'm about this and be a part of our community. And we want to push things. We want to push the industry and really say that women deserve better in all aspects.
I love that. How can we go buy a pair?
Yeah. So it's saysh.com, SAYSH.com.
I'm getting 4 today for my mom, my 2 sisters, and my girlfriend. So I'm gonna make sure.
That. Yeah, I appreciate the support.
I'm gonna make sure to get those today for you. Something you mentioned there a minute ago about owning your worth. Now, as a 5-time Olympian, is that right? 5 times? Yeah. How many gold medals have you won?
7.
So 5-time Olympian, 7-time gold medalist, but more medals beyond that, world championships. How did you lose sight in owning your own worth after accomplishing so much?
Yeah.
Not even the accomplishments, but just the daily efforts you put in, which I think a lot of people forget. Like you have put in so much daily effort to get those results. Whether you got the results or not, you still put in the effort.
Yeah.
Which is meaningful. And I'm curious, how did you learn to remember your own self-worth when you started to lose it? And for women watching who are thinking, if Allyson Felix lost her self-worth with all these accomplishments, I have no chance of gaining my self-worth with all the struggles that I might be facing. Yeah. What advice would you have to women who maybe don't believe in themselves, that don't feel like they have worth, or people aren't giving them what they feel like they're worth? How can we learn to own our worth no matter what anyone else does or says?
Yeah. For me, I think I was losing it because I was listening to what the world was telling me. Like when Nike offered me the 70% less, I think I got to this place where I was like, well, maybe that is what I'm worth. Maybe it is beyond me. Maybe I'm not capable. I start feeding into like these criticisms and I'm not listening and remembering, what I've done, like you said, what I've put in. I'm starting to get distracted by other people talking who don't know me, who don't know my work ethic and all of those things, and I start listening to it. But I think more than anything, it's believing that my identity is a track runner. It's believing that all I have to offer is running fast. And I think when I start pulling myself away from that and I start saying, my value is in being a mother, my value is being a daughter or friend or a partner, that's where I feel most fulfilled. And so I'm absolutely I have so much worth apart from what I do. And I think we have to break down those barriers of our thought process and what, I think constantly, you talk to people and the first question is like, what do you do? But it's like, that's not who I am. And for me, it was coming back to who am I, because I'm not just what I do.
Wow.
And then I came to a place where I understood that I was here for more than that.
Really?
That's amazing, but I think I have more to offer than just running fast. And I think I can have some impact in this world. And so now as I'm transitioning, I'm holding on to that. I know that I have a purpose here